It's done.
It's done. Woo!
Please take over.
Please take over. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of I Want It to Look with
Hi, everyone.
yeah, no, thanks for joining us. And we had a bit of a chuckle before we got on.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny, yeah, like you ever have those moments where it's like it's not funny, but I can't stop
What do
laughing.
you mean? That was very funny.
Well, it was some of it, but I'm just just reflecting on in the moment. Yeah, we're not going to tell you what you were doing.
I mean, you can.
I wish I had the camera on. That's all I got to say.
Oh my
Okay, folks, if you're looking for a chuckle, this is where you want to be.
Oh my gosh, sorry.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
it's healthy to laugh.
Yeah,
This is how we shift your brain state.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Low mood, high mood. You see the difference? Feel the difference. Oh.
I can't. Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna start the show.
I think we have started the show. We
Let's
might have
just
to do.
change the subject.
Okay. What is the subject today? Oh, right. The subject today is going to be on concepts. Now you got me going. Oh my goodness. Oh. um,
I'm so sorry. Something really, really funny happened before this. Okay, we're not drunk or anything. It just, it just naturally happened.
yeah, Fatih tried to drown herself with her water bottle.
I did it. It's a very noisy water bottle, so you can imagine the whole picture.
I could believe how noisy it
Oh my God.
was. Oh dear. Oh dear. We're sorry. We're sorry, everybody. This is supposed to be a really serious, coaching and life is supposed to be serious, right?
It is, especially concepts.
Especially concepts. Yes, the whole concept of life. Life has to be serious. Yes, no fooling around. You know, but I mean that's what we're talking about. We're talking about well, and we're not talking about you and your water bottle, but we're talking about concepts and how they build the blocks of beliefs and how we innocently grab onto them like things aren't supposed to be funny. Life's supposed to be serious, and I'm sure you can come up with many more. And I encourage people as we go through this conversation to type in the comments section comments concepts that they've noticed, concepts that they've adapted as part of their belief system. Um, and yeah, and say hello. We always like to say hello to people, and just kind of I can't see who's there. I thought maybe I could see who's there, but I can't. Um,
Yeah, let us know where you're coming from. If you're coming from Facebook, from YouTube, from Mind Valley, from LinkedIn, where are you coming from?
yeah,
Just let us know. We'd
yeah,
love to hear from you.
yeah. So yeah, so now that you're calmed down, what what.
It's contagious. Be careful.
Oh, it is. Laughter is. It's funny. There's an interesting concept in itself. Is the how emotions can be contagious.
Yes, so true. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And that could be a whole other subject, but it's interesting how, somebody that's really in a low mood, how things can be infectious, right? So
And how healthy it is too, because we both got on about 15 minutes ago. Hello, everyone. I'm back. Um, but we got on 15 minutes ago and we both felt the weight of the day. We had pretty intense days, both of us. I feel better now. I feel like I kind of released some of that stress. It works. Laughter works.
yeah.
It does shift. I was joking, but I really wasn't joking that it does shift your brain state.
Oh, absolutely. Your mind state is everything, right? Hi, Lee. Good. Thanks for chiming in. Um,
Oh, hi, Lee. Welcome. Welcome.
yeah. So yeah. So part of what this topic came up, at least it came up for me a couple of weeks ago when I started in this course with Michael Neal about effortless success,
Right.
and the first week really started to question some of the concepts that I was living by. Like, what was getting in the way of success? What was getting in the way of my full expression? Like things like that, right? And as you know, from a coaching perspective, we often do a lot of reflecting on that, and I would say 99.9% of the time it comes from our belief systems. You know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
we've picked right, and and one of them that came up as far as the whole success moving forward with anything, is this whole notion or concept that you have to earn it.
Right. That if
You
it's not earned, it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. It doesn't. You didn't earn it. You didn't. It doesn't count. You
Right.
have to somehow, another concept around, somehow you have to pay the price. There's a price to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right? So we innocently grab onto these things that sound reasonable, and and then I was talking with a client this morning who's just having a wonderful life, just so many changes in this person's life, and and they're feeling guilty. It's like,
Right. Is it how interesting, right? And
yeah,
like how not the first time I hear that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That if you have something good, oftentimes even with the concept of having money or making a good amount of money, right?
yeah,
There's guilt associated with
yeah,
that,
yeah,
right? That
yeah,
you
and it's
can, so you won't fully allow yourself to enjoy what you have because there's some other belief around what you have that makes you feel bad about it,
yeah, some kind of, the root of every belief is a concept, right? So
right?
it's a building block. So when we sort of examine that, as that's an interesting emotion to have around feeling happy, is
Right.
there's a concept out there that life is supposed to be serious, that you can't you can't enjoy it 100%, right? Okay, look, who says that? Who made that one up?
Yeah.
But we
Right.
innocently think about that. We
Well, we not only we adopt them without the awareness that we have adopted them, right? Because at some point we have adopted them, and at the point in which those concepts were adopted, we did not necessarily have the ability to make a choice. We
know at
just
the time.
inherited a lot of it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so, up until the point that you start questioning everything that you believe, it just slips your awareness because you don't know that you're doing it. You
Mhm.
don't know that there's something else driving that thinking and that concept that you have accepted for truth,
Yeah.
right? It has become a belief because you have accepted it.
Yeah. And when you have accepted it, or adopted it, as some people would say, as a belief system, as
Right,
part of your
right,
operating system, you will now spend the bulk of your time now proving it. So you will look for evidence to support our beliefs. So yeah, it's
You will only see the evidence that supports the belief, right?
yeah. Well, you actually, yeah,
Right,
exactly. Yeah,
right. And you won't see anything else outside of that belief.
right.
How
And
limiting is that, right?
100%. But but even we were joking around later about other concepts and that kind of sneak in. One is the trouble a lot of us have, including myself, about fluctuating weight gains.
Mm,
And I started thinking, okay, so that's interesting, right? Like my weight will go up, and naturally it just keeps going up and down. Seems to be going up more as I get older. But anyways, the, what I noticed, there was a concept that I heard, that you have to finish your plate. Whatever you put on the plate, you have to finish.
right.
And it's like, oh, okay, that's so innocently, I would be putting all this stuff on my plate, and I would be operating from that belief, that concept. So everything got finished. Not only did I finish my plate, I also finished my kids' plates, and and various other
Right.
things, right? And then I thought, well, wait a minute, who puts the food on the plate? So if the now there's nothing wrong with the concept of cleaning your plate off, but I don't have to fill it up so much either.
Right. Right.
So so there's a balance between, I believe there are some good concepts that we probably adapt for very good reason, and there's some that serve us very well, and there's some, when we kind of look at it based on the results that we're getting, don't serve us well.
Yeah. I mean, with the example that you gave, also how that belief probably got set was probably came from a very loving and innocent place,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
When you weren't in charge of filling your own plate, somebody else did it for you, who was likely a parent, who was likely looking to make sure that you were fed,
Yeah.
right? And you ate all your food, right? And then you never, because that became a habit of finishing whatever is on your plate, even when you started doing it, you didn't really question the how much, right?
Hmm.
Because now you're doing something that like you never question the point of why you need to finish everything that's in your plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So an innocent act like that can actually create a chain of beliefs that are formed, right? Because they're oftentimes adopted when we're children,
Oh, 100. Well, yeah,
right?
I would say, the first 7 years of your life, you are you are picking up these concepts quite readily, because you're looking at the authority. You're adjusting how you show up in life. You're trying to adjust. Some of it is picked up to keep you safe. Some of it's kept up to in how you engage in life. Um, but it's interesting to notice them, and you don't necessarily have to do something about them, other than, if they're not serving you well, then maybe it's worth adopting or changing the concept. And that's sometimes foreign for a lot of people too, not realizing that they do have the power to take concepts away, try different things, or adapt them, or just mix them up a little bit, like I did with the food. Like, it's like, whatever I put on my plate, yes, it's it is good to finish the plate, but I could adopt a new concept where it's okay not to, or put less on my plate.
Right, right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
It's
if our
fascinating.
I was just thinking, if our audience is, if anything's coming up for them, as far as what some concepts they are becoming noticeable for them, please share in our chat there, because there, if you look at every part of your life, there's a concept attached to it.
That's running it,
Yeah.
yes. And I would say, like, it's really the act of questioning everything that's going to help you discover things more easily, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But one other way to be reminded of that is to just really always check in with yourself when you feel resistance or unease or you feel uncomfortable about anything, because that's your alarm system, right? That's your gauge. That's how you know that there's something that needs to be just checked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how you check it out is by asking yourself, in this case, well, where does this concept come from? And is that really true that I need to finish everything on my plate?
Mm-hmm.
What purpose would that serve if I always did that? And what purpose would that serve if I didn't?
Yeah.
Right? Really question the reason behind a concept exists and
Yeah.
decide for yourself if you want to adopt it or let it go.
Yeah.
Right?
And money being a really big one, big topic for a lot of people. Um, how come I'm not making the money I want to make, or any whatever success label you want to put on things? Um, I mean, look at the concepts that you're up against. Like the thing of like no pain, no gain. That's an
Right.
interesting
Right.
concept, isn't it? Right? You hear that in exercise,
Right. To
right?
to make money, you have to work hard.
That's another one, right? If you
Right.
you're obviously not working hard enough if you're only making X amount of money.
Yeah. So I hear a lot of guilt and shame. Sound familiar? Right? It's kind of how we're wired, right? There's a lot of we could make a whole episode about guilt and shame. And where that concept comes from, right?
Yeah,
Where that concept comes from. Because there is a lot of shame around a lot of these concepts, right? Where we're kind of putting ourselves down or we're putting others down, and um, it kind of feeds into that negative, chatter, that we all have, the tendency to really have brains that are wired towards the negative thinking.
yeah,
And it all starts with all these little things that add up to the mindset that
yeah.
thinks that way, that rehearses
Well,
that way.
it's part of our conditioning, right? It becomes our conditioning at that point, and then when we're operating from condition only, there's no other room or opportunity for change.
Right, right.
And even the concept of guilt is a concept,
Hmm.
right? And I know guilt has been used as motivators in growing up and in organizations. Leaders in organizations have used guilt, thinking that it's a motivator, but it's a concept. It's a concept that somehow got adopted. Um, I remember one in business. If you on, aren't constantly monitoring your employees, they'll rob you blind. Something along those lines, right? So
No.
in other words, the concept of micromanaging as being a good way of controlling your employees. Um, so there's so many of them, and yet we adopt them innocently. And I'll say innocently because if we knew different, if we knew better, we wouldn't be. So it's a question of
Of
really
course, yeah.
reflecting back on: is it really serving me? Am I getting the results that I've been looking for? If it's not, then it is time to sort of, okay, so what is the operating system behind this?
Yeah. And the only way to change all of that is by having as much awareness as possible around all of it.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what we tend to do as coaches, is to create that awareness.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
So, are there any questions from people watching about any of what we discussed? Put it in the comments. You can put them later after the show is over. We always love to receive your questions and we can answer them.
yeah, yeah. We're always interested in. I mean, between the two of us, we have 2 points of view, right? And and, we, and we've both been conditioned in various. It's interesting how we've uh, some of the concepts around what what is what has value, and I
Yeah.
love listening to your tone on it, and then reflecting on, all right, like you're in New York, which is a different environment.
Mm.
We,
Hmm.
we often talked about uh, what things cost.
Yes. Yes. How, I mean, everything is relative, right?
Yeah,
And even every concept that you take and you adopt and that you inherited, that it's created, is shaped by the society that forms it,
yeah,
right? So, I mean, it's actually really interesting. Like, if you think about different cultures,
hmm
right, and how certain things are so sacred, right? They're like a no, or like a must do, and then you enter into a completely different culture, and you get to know that culture, and you realize that some of the things that you grew up thinking that they were sacred, they have no value in that society,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's but it's funny. I love being woken up to that.
Right. Yes. 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 Exactly. It,
You
it
know,
is. It is. I love the way you described it because it is an awakening too.
yeah,
Uh, feeling, right? Something that you always took for truth. You always knew to be that way, and suddenly is not at all what you thought it was.
yeah.
Not
That's
as relevant as you thought it
yeah,
was, or not as firmly true as you thought it was.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
a that's the paradigm shift.
That is a paradigm shift, and I think that's something that really happens if you live in a different country, in a different culture. You can really grasp this concept.
It's yeah, it's readily of uh, like anybody can have a paradigm shift, and it doesn't necessarily
Mhm.
take you know a, um, a major shift like moving to a different country or being absorbed into a different culture. Um, it it seems really significant, especially when you get dropped into. I remember traveling down south in your neck of the woods, not in New York, but like in the United States, and sort of, this is a touchy subject, but it's like like racism, right? I
Mhm.
I personally, because of my white skin or white privilege or whatever they're calling it now, I cannot say that I've really kind of experienced that. Like I've had other experiences that are shared by many others, but not that one.
Right.
Um, but I went to an area, and it was a different culture, and it
Mm.
was really it was a real shift in my thinking, to have experienced something that was totally foreign to me, uh, where, oh geez, nobody's even paying attention that I even are in this building. It's
Mm.
like
Yeah.
totally ignoring. Um, and so again, it's sort of like, here I am walking around, and have this new experience, and it was a big shift. It was a big shift in, oh my goodness, this is what it feels like. This is what they're talking about. I get it. I get that. So it's, sometimes it does take a drop into a different culture to see the other side.
Right. Yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, that's traveling the world definitely opens up your mind to so many different, not just experiences, but points of view, ways
Yeah,
of seeing life, ways of living life. And what's acceptable in one country may not be ever acceptable in another country. There's all different realities, right? From repressed countries to countries that are like living in poverty to countries that are, right,
yeah,
in freedom.
and freedom.
So,
Yes,
and freedom,
yeah,
yeah, and freedom of, even of thought or being, of expressing things that we take for granted or that we spend so much time getting angry about or rehearsing and, resenting that we have that others may don't even have anything close to that, right?
hmm
And oftentimes I found myself really appreciating what I have when I've been in touch with those realities. Um, really getting a reality check. And yeah, and like oftentimes it took me back to a place of gratefulness and understanding, really sometimes even seeing for the first time what I have. Like I remember going to South America and like traveling through Colombia with a girlfriend of mine who was Colombian, and just we drove through the country and just seeing how the population lived outside of the big cities was,
Hmm.
and it was at a time of my life where I was grieving deeply because it was right after my husband had
Oh,
died,
right. Yeah.
and it was very healing. Actually, I found it to be very healing. I realized, yeah, I'm going through something really, really significant right now, and there's this reality and how these children are living and these people are living. So yeah, that exposure to a different way of seeing things really created transformation within me.
Yeah. And getting back, sort of like tying it into the concept things, like it, from our point of view, and this is the part that kind of like I have to remind myself, is that where I'm coming from, and when I'm seeing there, that I can build this concept or belief that there's something wrong with what's going on down there.
Hmm.
And there may not, I don't know. But a lot, sometimes it could get in our way, where our concepts and our beliefs, we feel that they're the right ones.
Yeah,
And of course, you know
of course.
that that causes, and we talked about this before, we've got, there's, not to cause the most controversial subjects to come up, but that's a war start. Like,
Hmm.
where there's a particular concept or a particular belief, and we anchor ourselves to the point where we'll die for it,
Hmm.
right? Which is, to me, sad, because I always thought life was worth living.
Life is worth living.
It is. It is. And I like Michael Neal's line about, wouldn't it be a shame to have a wonderful life and not notice it?
Right. Exactly. It's pretty good.
It
It's
is.
pretty, I mean, because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
In the simplicity of what he's saying, that's exactly what it is. Because it's these concepts that we adopt of what it takes for us to be happy that are also not allowing us to be happy,
Hmm.
right?
Both
We adopt
100%.
a certain concept of what is going to give us that happiness, what's going to create that happiness. And we forget along the way that we do have the ability to actually just be happy by being present with what we have already, right? And stop chasing what's not there, because even the chasing something so that you can have or be or feel is a concept that's been wired in,
Oh,
right?
and how prevalent is that in our culture, our culture here? You look at all the commercials. It's like, you can't be until you have the Lexus, the whatever. It's And we innocently look at it. Oh, I guess I'm doing it wrong.
Well, we constantly also compare, right? And when we compare to others, we're not staying here with ourselves because we're over there comparing, right?
And
Again,
but that's
comparison is another way to not
yeah,
be present with who you are and recognize you
yes,
compared to you, right?
yeah.
Where I was 5 years ago, right? Now we look at where we want to be and we're not. So yes, that's a pattern that is completely wired in, and we're conditioned to, yeah.
Conditioned. And when I realized that I too am a concept, in the sense of, right, it's like, okay, if I am just this piece of adopted programming, conditioning, right, and the fact that I notice that gives me the opportunity. to do the reprogramming or adopt new concepts, adopt new
Yeah.
beliefs that serve me a lot better. Um, and then you get away from the comparison piece, because one of the concepts that's so prevalent out there is that you're not enough until you have this.
Until you have
Somehow you're
this.
lacking something until you have this. So we're always looking for, well, what's the missing pieces? There's nothing out there.
Mm-hmm.
So when we think of, okay, well, if there's nothing out there and I have an opportunity of doing whatever I want to do, reinvent myself, how would I do that? If I had a magic wand, how would I define me going forward? It's it's like it's foreign to a lot of people to think in that direction.
Yeah, because it takes some work getting there,
Well,
right? To
and that
do
could be a
the
concept.
noticing, right?
That's one. Like I'm a principles-based coach, kind of, and we always talk about we're one thought away. You're always one thought away from peace and understanding. You're one thought, because it's that one thought that keeps removing us away from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's anyways, it's a that in itself, because it's in the form, is a concept. But for me, it served me very well to have that concept, to know that,
Right.
and to experience it, not just to adopt it and go, okay, that sounds good, but actually to experience. So anything that feels good when you drop it, it just seems, that's what adopting seems to work. I have no idea if that articulated correctly or not, because it's like, where the heck are you going?
What is the moon today? Because you and I are like on it.
we we're yeah.
We're
Well,
not here. We
we're not,
are, okay, let's just spill the beans. We're working really hard behind the scenes.
that's right. Well,
We really are. And so we're a little bit exhausted today.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but
Staying up
it's
late.
it's for a good reason. We're very excited about what we're creating. So,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you made total sense with what you just said.
I'm sure somewhere along the line there was something that might have resonated, and and
I'm
yeah,
sure
I mean,
it did.
if you heard something, you want to laugh at us, you want to argue with us, you know, put it in the comments, put it in the chat. I mean,
That's right.
anything is helpful.
That's
Um,
right. Suggest any topics that you would like to hear about. We're gonna be announcing new guests coming on soon.
yes, we got a good
Yeah,
slate of guests coming
you're
on
right.
in November right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and yeah,
And
but
we're gonna announce them soon.
yeah.
And that's it. And we will definitely let you know when we're on podcast soon.
We're getting this close.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. Yes.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by wherever you're coming from. Follow us, subscribe, write us, and like us, review us.
Yeah. Like us, oh please.
Anything else? Whatever you can to support the show. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we'll catch
And
you
everyone,
next week.
sounds good.
All right.
Bye.